Hello, this is Angela Anderson. Thanks for joining me for this acrylic painting tutorial. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to paint a horse silhouette with kind of a foggy landscape. It's going to be really simple and easy, and I'm going to show you how to do it from start to finish. I've got my husband Mark with me.
Hey there, everybody.
He's going to chat during our live show here, so if you've got questions, you can ask those, and I'll try to answer them. Let's get started. Alrighty, so I'm using a 9 by 12 inch linen canvas today. It's just a thin canvas board. You can use whatever you've got, that whatever size really that you'd like to use. My canvas is a little bit off. Go ahead and switch the palette cam there, hon. Thank you. So I've coated it with a coat of light yellow bismuth. But if you don't have this color, you can use like cadmium yellow or just a light yellow and white. That's basically all it is. So just kind of pre-coated it to give us a head start on this today. Let me go over our colors really quick. I've got Dioxazine Purple, Burnt Umber, which we may or may not use. This is Quinacridone Burnt Orange, or you can use Burnt Sienna instead. Yellow Oxide, Indian Yellow Hue, Cadmium Yellow Light. This is that light Bismuth Yellow. Unbleached Titanium, Titanium White, and Zinc White. And then this is Glazing Liquid. And I've used a Zinc White that is a fluid, so it's kind of spreading out a little bit. I'm going to use a large flat brush for some of the background work. This is number 12 Bright. And for the foggy, misty part, you're going to want some sort of a scrubber brush. I'm going to be using these for the grasses as well. So these flat brushes are called Willow's blenders. They're flat on one side and rounded tipped, but they're stiff bristled, so they work really well. 1/4 inch, 3/8 inch. Then I've got a 1/4 inch, 3/8 inch Deerfoot Stippler. They're kind of angled a little bit, so those will be for more like the trees. And then we'll use these down here for the grasses. You can also use a fan brush if you don't have these. Usually you'll have a fan brush hanging around somewhere, so you could use those for the grasses instead. And if you don't have these, you could just use any kind of scruffy brush that you've got that'll kind of have your bristles splayed out so that you can do your foliage. And then I've got a number 1 and a number 3 round for the detail on the horse, and we're going to transfer on the horse and just basically fill it in. It's going to be super easy. So, and you could really substitute any animal that you'd like for that part. So thank you to Princeton, our brush sponsor. These are the VelvetTouch in the red handles and the 6100 series in the green handles. And then the Select line with the blue handles that we're using today. All Princeton brushes and the Fredrix canvas. So thank you to our sponsors for providing our materials.
Yes. Hey,
Yeah.
hey, real quick. They wanted to know what the color of the background was again. Some popped in late.
Light Bismuth Yellow.
Light.
Or any yellow plus white. So basically any light yellow, cadmium yellow light and light bismuth are very similar in tone. You can see that it's almost kind of a greenish yellow. And I used it because that reference photo is kind of almost a greenish yellow, and then it kind of goes to a more orangey yellow in the center. So you're also going to want a transfer paper of some sort and some tracing paper that's got your design on it. So you can draw onto the tracing paper, onto paper, and then trace your design. But you're going to want that as well for later on when we do the horse. So Sorrel paper is nice because the transfer paper, it's water soluble. So I just started using it myself last year and I love it. It's great. It's like, where have you been? So, all right. So we already kind of prepped our canvas. So all we really need to do is tone it. Again, I changed the tones just a little bit. I'm going to, let's use a pencil. If I can get one real quick. Here. I'm just going to use a little bit of a red pencil to mark out our horizon line and our tree line. So they're basically on the thirds. So the horizon line is kind of somewhere on this lower third, and you can just kind of lightly pencil it in if you want. I don't want it to be super dark, so I'm just going to kind of make little references to it for myself, but I don't want it to show up too much underneath all of this. And I already kind of transferred on that. I don't know where it is. I can't see it. I did it in yellow. So the red's a little bit better, but yeah, you can't see it at all. Sorry. I don't want it to do it too dark because with this yellow, it's such a light color. Any of these colors that we add to it we're just gonna have to cover them up. So I'm going to grab some white, and I'm gonna grab my cadmium yellow light and get just a very little bit of it. And I want to kind of put in my sun area right over here. It's gonna be right along that tree line there. So I'm going to start with my lightest area and then work towards the darker. And we just want to kind of get the canvas sort of toned a little bit down. It's really bright yellow right now. So we're going to kind of neutralize that just a little bit by adding some purples and things. The purple against that yellow really tones each other and they neutralize each other. I'm going to add just a tiny bit of yellow oxide. That will also kind of neutralize because it's sort of a neutral yellow color. And I'm doing this lighter white right along that horizon line. So, and I'm going right over my tree line and just going back and forth. And I don't have a whole lot of paint on my brush. And I'm just kind of brushing it out into the area that I've already got there so that it fades out a little bit. I don't want it to be super noticeable where it starts and stops. I'm going to do the same thing right along my horizon line right here. And go right across my horsey. I'll put him back in later. And that's going to be where our fog goes.
Okay, we got a titanium white question.
Yes.
Is it the same as buff titanium?
Unbleached titanium is the same as buff titanium. Yes.
Check.
Yes, it is.
I need one of those
Then I'm
bells
going
to
to use
ding.
some of that unbleached titanium. What? What did you say?
I need a bell to ding
Ding, ding, ding.
when there's a right answer.
What did they win?
They won a free show.
Nice. Seems legit. Okay, I'm making just a little bit darker tone now, and this may be a little bit dark, so I'm going to grab a little bit more white over here. I added unbleached titanium and a teeny tiny bit of the burnt orange, and I'm going to add that just right at the horizon line. It should be almost the same color. If it's the same color, it'll dry just a little bit darker. So if you really can't see where you've painted it, you're probably spot on, because then once it dries, it'll be a little bit darker. Okay, there we go. And I'm not gonna do too much of this, but I am gonna kind of just tap it in a few more places down here to kind of tone the rest of this just a little bit. We don't want to cover up all that yellow, but we're just kind of adding a little bit of color to it. Okay, so this is super subtle right now. I know I was worried about doing this because it's kind of hard. It doesn't pick up very well on the camera, but hopefully you're kind of seeing what we're doing. Hopefully.
I can see just fine because I'm sitting right here.
Because you're sitting right next to me. Okay, so I'm going to use the same color that I used on the horizon line right up here in the sky. I'm just going to go all the way to the top from just over the top of what we just already did. And if you're seeing a really solid line there, then you're putting your paint on a little bit too thick. So just wipe your brush off and smooth it out a little bit. I'm grabbing a little bit of glazing liquid to even help thin it out just that much more. And this yellow is gonna glow through our colors, but we're kind of toning down that canvas just a little bit. Okay, so now I want to go a little bit darker with my reddish color. This is that Quinacridone Burnt Orange. And if you don't have this color, you can use Burnt Sienna and maybe add just a little bit of Quinacridone Magenta if you have it, or a little bit of a pink or a reddish color to help tone it. And it is super subtle. Just the slightest blush. I want to keep it really close to that color of the background. We can always make it darker, but it's going to be really hard to come back from it if we add too much color too soon. So we're just going to kind of go slow, build up our layers slowly. Adding purple now, and I'm going to grab a little bit more of that Bismuth Yellow, or if you have a little bit of your background color, whatever color you used, just grab that color now. So this up here is a little bit darker. You should be able to see this now. And I'm just going to brush it on side to side and let some little streaks happen so they look like clouds. Just letting, have very little paint on my brush. There's not kicked up on the tip at all. You can see how thin it is on my palette. I can see through my palette as I'm pulling that paint on to my brush. Don't need a lot of paint for this. That paint that we just put on is still a little bit wet, so if it started to dry and it's feeling tacky, just let it set and we can come back to it and add more later. So we don't want to mess with it if it's starting to feel sticky. But this is going to work out pretty good, I think. Add a little bit of this up here and call that good. Okay, we'll see. You're gonna notice once it starts to dry, it's gonna really start to get darker. So go a little bit lighter than you think you need to. You'll be surprised at how much the color shifts, especially with heavy bought acrylics. Now, if you're using craft acrylics, thinner acrylic or like a student level acrylic, you may not see as much color shift. So you may need to go a little bit darker than I did. But for me, I have to go a little bit lighter than I think I need to because it dries a lot darker. Okay, so I've mixed up a little bit darker of the Quinacridone and burnt sienna, or I'm sorry, Quinacridone burnt orange, and the purple. And I'm going to go ahead and switch over now to my Willow's blender, and I'm not adding water to it. Your stiff bristled brushes, especially if you're using a hog bristle brush, which is a natural bristle brush, you do not want to add water to them because they will get really floppy on you. So these ones are synthetic, so they actually don't get super floppy, but I still don't need water in them. So I'm setting my brush down and just kind of flicking it upward just slightly and sort of tapping along to add just little hints of grass in my foreground. And this foreground is pretty shallow, so we're not seeing a whole lot, like a huge distance. So they are getting a little bit smaller as we get farther away, but it's not like, when we did our poppy field a few weeks ago where, up in here it was like teeny tiny, and, these are a little bit shallower distance, so it's still fairly close. We're still getting fairly big chunks of grass here, even in our up towards our horizon. Okay, just every now and then I'm just kind of skipping around here and adding these horizontal planes of grass.
First of all, I've never heard of chunks of grass. Interesting.
Yeah, I'm gonna go over off the camera here.
Oh, I'm keeping an eye on you.
Okay.
I should switch to side cam so they can see the 3 brushes in your left hand. She's ready.
I'm ready. I'm very ready. Now, this brush still has paint in it, so I don't want to hold it too long before I clean it out. If I don't need it, I need to clean it out, but I'm Thinking I might switch back to it if I need more color up in my sky. We'll just wait for it to dry right now. Alright, this paint color is starting to, my palette is starting to get dry, so you can see basically pretty subtle here. I'm going to spray my palette. I don't think I need my small one right now. And I think I'm pretty happy with that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna scoop this, and then I'm gonna smush my brush down and just twist it to get that paint off of it, because I don't need this brush anymore. I'm pretty much done with it, unless we need a little bit more up in the sky, which we won't be able to tell until this is completely dry. But if you're a beginner, you're going to want to have your water with a paper towel right next to it, and then your palette on whatever you decide to do. I usually, since I'm right-handed, I keep it on the right-hand side just so that it's out of the way, so you're not reaching across your canvas with your wet brush or that kind of thing to pick up paint. It's just a little bit more convenient to have it right here on the right-hand side for you. And I set out my paints in order of their tone, so kind of like rainbow style. It makes it easier to mix your colors and things. So just be aware of that when you're laying out your palette. And I like to put them all along the edge there so that they're out of the way. And then when I mix, I grab a little color and I bring it over into another spot so that I'm not blending right up into my color up in here, because then you can tend to, eventually it'll get up there, but at first I really try to kind of mix away from it so that I don't make a big mess up there. All right, so let's start on our trees here. So I'm gonna get some of this purple and just a little bit of the burnt orange, and it's probably 2 parts purple to 1 part orange, something like that. And I don't need this brush. I'm going to switch over. I kind of mixed it up with that, but I'm going to grab, I'm going to go ahead and try the bigger one. We'll see if this is too big. If it is, we can switch over to the other one. Okay. So with the Deerfoot Stippler, again, no water. I'm going to just grab a little bit of paint on the very tip of that brush, right at the sharpest point. You can see how it's angled. So right up in here, I'm just tapping in a little bit of paint. I'm kind of pulling through the paint to load it. I'm going to add a little bit of water there so that you want your water to, or your paint to be wet, but not your brush to be wet. And then I'm going to add a little bit of that background yellow. So a little bit of this sky color right here. And that's just going to tone it down just a little bit so it's not so in your face bright. Okay, and I'm going to point the tip down and tap. And if you don't want to load it too thick, you should be able to see kind of that that bushy texture happening. And if it doesn't show up, you might need just a little bit more paint. So might need to load it just a little bit thicker. It's kind of a balancing act. You don't want it too thick, because then you'll just get a big blob of paint and it'll be solid. You do want a little bit of fuzziness there. We can kind of see the individual's hairs along the top of that canvas there. And then at the bottom here, I'm going to grab more yellow, and while that's still wet, I'm going to pull down, tap, pull down. So I want the brightest color right at the top, and then it's going to quickly start fading out. So I'm just going to tap and pull down. And I'm going about the first quarter or so. And then I'm going to use this lighter color here, this color up along the ridge right here, and kind of pull it into almost to the middle there. Okay, so I started with dark over here, And then I added that lighter color to kind of blend out the bottom of it. This is how we're going to get that kind of soft fade happening. And I'm not going to reload my brush with any of that purple now. I'm just going to grab some more of that yellow and keep adding it to my purple mixture. And just keep on going all the way up. And you don't want to go too far. You just kind of keep adding more of this yellow down here. We still have that purple in my brush, so it's still tinting the color just a little bit. And then by the time we get down to here, it should be almost pure yellow. And if it's still got a little bit of purple in it, that's okay, because we're going to add more yellow to it over the top of this. So you can go all the way down like that. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that. I'm going to go ahead and wipe my brush off. Get most of that yellow out because I need a little bit darker color for this next section. I'm going to grab some of that Quinacridone Burnt Orange. That'll be our next color. I'm going to mix that in with that purple that we already had here. So I'm going to make a transition color between the two. And we're going to do a little bit of yellow with it. And go right up in here. And you can see where I did that a little bit like lighter purple. So I'm going over the top of that section right there. And then I'm going to overlap it into a little bit of that darker purple. So they're kind of doing like that. And that way those colors will kind of easily blend. You won't see a line in between them. You don't want a line here and a line here of these colors. So we're just kind of overlapping them a little bit like that. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I'm going to go a little bit farther than I need to. Add a little bit of my yellow, just like we did before. Tap underneath. Blending out. Blending down. Makes it super easy to do these transitions this way. Just start with our darker color. Already got our sky done, so we don't have to worry about it. You're mainly just trying to get kind of an interesting texture along that ridge line there. And then we're just adding more yellow to it as we go down. So each time we get more paint, just add a little bit more yellow. Creating this ombre effect.
He's a cool hombre.
Ombre. I knew. I was waiting for you to say something.
So there's a lot of debate on what this horse is standing on.
What he's standing on?
Yeah.
Grass? What is he standing on?
Okay. People were thinking maybe sand.
No, it's grass.
Or somebody said maybe water.
Mm-mm.
I corrected everybody, told them he was standing on clouds. It's a magical horse.
Pegasus. His wings are folded back.
In a magical land.
Could happen.
With all the happy little trees.
I love her chat. It's awesome. Okay, so I'm adding some of that lighter color down here because I don't want the transition to be really harsh between those two colors. The next color. This turned out pretty good. I like it. Definitely, I think beginner friendly. I definitely think that this is something you can do as long as you do the steps this way, the way we're doing them here, and don't load up too much paint on your brush at any one time. Just kind of take your time and go slow. You're gonna be able to do this, I think. Okay, so that's good. And while I've got this paintbrush, or this color on here, this light color, I'm going to tap this in down in my grasses too. I want some of this color down here. So we already had that purple color down here. So I'm just adding this other color in here on my grasses, and I can kind of go sort of in between where we've already done. And just adding, I'm setting my brush down and kind of pushing it up. Should be very light. This is this color. It's not this color up here. So I'm just using that lightest color so it's barely tinting the canvas here. You don't want to go in with your super dark color. Too much. Okay, there we go.
So somebody asked,
Oops.
do
Don't want
you,
to get water. What?
somebody asked, do you roll your brush when cleaning it before changing colors?
Roll my brush like this? Yeah, I am. I'm just trying to get it just pushing down pretty hard on it and rolling it, yeah, from side to side to get that color out of there, because it gets trapped in the middle. So if you don't do that, it just kind of hides down in there. All right, so now our next color in here is going to be this yellow, Indian yellow, and I'm going to I'm going to grab a little bit of that burnt. Actually, I didn't do burnt orange on its own. I'm going to get a little bit of this burnt orange on its own and just add a little bit of the yellow to it. It's almost red. It's a really pretty color. And I'm going to add just a little tiny bit of burnt umber to it to darken it up, because it is so red, it's kind of a little too red. All right, and so I'm going to use it up in here. Just tapping that tip down. I'm angling it down so the only thing touching is the tip. You don't want to do it straight. If you do it straight, you're going to get what? No, I had to change the tone of the camera. So if you set it down flat along that flat edge of that, you're going to get a circle. And that's not what we're going for. So we're tapping with the tip. And that way you're going to get that. Okay? So we're going for that. So just make sure that my brush is almost like pointing upward when I'm doing this, because I'm tapping that tip of it down instead of tapping this way. Now down here I am tapping it this way because I'm wanting to fill in more of the area, and that's okay. But if I'm wanting to really kind of get control on that tip, I want to just be touching the very tip of it down. All right, so there we go. We got a little bit, it's pretty bright. It might be a little too bright, we'll see. We can always tone it down. I'm going to go over the top just a little bit with a little bit of the lighter color. Okay, let's go just below it. Out to the side. There we go. That's not too bad. More yellow. And this part's really kind of smack dab right in there in the middle. So okay, that's good. Now we want our Indian yellow, and we'll just add it to this color up here. I'm going to spray my palette because it's getting wet. It's getting dry. That'll kind of keep my paints moist while I'm working on them. This will make kind of an orange with that burnt orange color, a little bit more of a traditional orange color, not so reddish. See how that does? More of a golden orange color. Again, overlapping a little bit. Okay, working up. What you doing, hon? Oh, you got the colors working?
Yeah, I figured it out all myself.
Good job.
Can I get a treat? I just want like a candy treat.
I think there's
I did a
some
good
M&Ms
job.
in here somewhere.
Yeah, I already ate too many of those.
Okay. I don't think we have any other candy in here.
I don't need it.
Okay.
I do not need more candy for sure.
Okay, I'm going to wipe that off because I've got a lot of paint going on in there. And I'm going to get more of this yellow. And it's getting a lot lighter up in here, so I want to go lighter a lot faster. So I'm going to add a lot more yellow than I did over here. You know, I kind of did like 3 versions of it. Here I'm just going to pretty much do almost just 2. I want to go really light, really pretty quick here. And I'm going right up over the sun there, and then I'm going to do this on the other side of it too. Because right in the middle here, we're going to have that bright yellow, but this kind of color is going to be on either side. Isn't that pretty? It's like a rainbow. I like it. We're going to try to do these kind of simpler projects on Tuesday nights. Try to keep it easy for Mark so that he can actually like have a break.
Have a break before going to bed.
Exactly. He comes straight from work and puts him to work. You know, this needs to be a little bit higher. We can go back in here and add a little bit higher. What's going on?
My back is hurting.
Trying to move the cat out of the way.
She won't let get out.
Yeah. She's literally clawing the cat chair to hold on to it. Cashmere. Mark got up just before the show to adjust the microphone or something, and she jumped right in his chair. She's like, "Thank you very much." She's our studio assistant. She thinks she's the boss of everybody. She does not understand when we set boundaries. She does not understand boundaries at all. Okay, I'm going to use this color down here along that horizon line. Down in here. I'm just going to kind of run it side to side. Let's rub it in. Sorry, I'm trying to get a hair off there. That's not. You don't need to do that.
Put a hair in it?
Yeah, don't. Wouldn't suggest it, no. Alrighty, it's looking good. All right, so don't worry about this. We can kind of see the line between here. We're gonna fix that. So don't worry too much about that. You just kind of want it subtle. You don't want it, super obvious, but I think this is gonna work out just fine. And then for our last, I'm gonna go ahead and get a little water and just the littlest bit of water, just enough to get off the main bit. And if you have more than one of these brushes in this size or in a different size, you can switch over at this point if you need to. You can see how pink's getting stuck up in there, but I'm going to get the yellow now. This is the Cadmium Yellow Light, so it's a lot brighter. And I'm going to add some of the Bismuth Yellow, or just white if you're using the Cadmium Yellow Light. What I would say is just kind of mix yourself up some of the Cadmium Yellow Light and white. I would say it's probably 2 to 3 parts white to 1 part Cadmium Yellow. So, and then, just mix up enough of it that you can use it for your other stuff here, because we used it to do all of this stuff, So here we're putting this right along. Isn't that pretty? Isn't that really cool how that works? Now we have glow in our sky. Just like that. Pretty cool.
Now we're ready to paint over that section.
Now what?
Now we're ready to paint over that section. Because the sun's right there. You normally paint over the sun. You got to keep up with me, honey. Come on.
I forgot. Yeah. Okay, so now I went back in with that Indian yellow, put it a little bit brighter right along that top. I'm going to put a little bit on this side too, just a little tiny bit. There, and then I'm going to grab the burnt orange and just a little bit of the purple. And go a little bit higher with this up in here. Bring it up just a little bit more. Okay. Get that Indian yellow. Mix that in and do that right here. This transition between these two. There we go. Yellow and the light yellow here, and just gonna tapping off underneath, blend those out a little bit, and there we go. Okay, that's pretty good. And then down here I'm gonna go ahead and grab some more of this purple, a little bit of the yellow. Just do a little bit more of the brighter purple down here, right at the very end. Okay. All right, I'm pretty happy with that. More of that yellow. Tap, tap, tap. Get a little bit of that quinacridone with that purple. Quinacridone orange with the purple. Do it right there in that middle part. I'm just darkening up a little bit. You may not have to do this. You may not want to, you know, if you got it right the first time. I'm just gonna fuss in with it a little bit here. Not something you would have to do, maybe. Up to you. I would say the less you mess with it, probably the better. But
I find that to be true when it comes to my wife. If I don't mess with her too much, the better.
When it comes to your wife?
Yeah, better off I am.
And your life goes a lot more smoothly.
Yeah. I don't get that look.
Mm-hmm. True dat. There's truth in what you say. Okay, I think those are. Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not super photogenic, and this is pre-cell phones, so you couldn't like just, you know, take 5 photos and get your best shot. So, yeah, there's Mark and I.
Oh yeah, like I'm any better.
We're both kind of halfway through talking. I think we're both saying something. Both of us have our mouths open like we're saying something. She probably did it like say cheese, and we're like cheese, you know, cheat, you know. So we got our mouths open. 1985. There we go. Yeah, I got some heavy eyeliner.
That's Angela.
Some 80s hair there, baby.
That's Angela.
Like you can't see Mark's hair. He's got it parted down the middle, feathered out like big time.
Well, what am I called on the back of that picture?
Oh, yeah. And Mark Hersteady. That was my grandmother's photo, I think, or maybe my mom. My mom's writing, yeah. Yeah, that was my mom's writing. awesome or steady. Yeah. 15 and 17.
Wow.
Come a long way. Crazy. All right, so I definitely want to work on this foreground now. We've got the background pretty good. We're gonna add white clouds over the top of this. So it went a little bit darker than we may need, we may end up with it. But it's looking pretty good. And I do think I want to add a little bit more to the sky. So this is dry now, so I'm gonna go ahead and before doing anything down here, I'm just gonna try to grab one of these colors that I've already got. Yeah, no, it's not working. All right, let's just grab a little bit of the purple, a little bit of the burnt orange, and some of that yellow, a lot of the yellow. Just making a color for our sky, grabbing glazing liquid, and going a little bit darker now. Very little paint on my brush. And the glazing liquid is just going to help thin out my paint. You can use whatever, acrylic medium you have. If you don't have a medium, just use water. You're just wanting to thin it out a little bit. I'm gonna wipe my brush off and then just use the kind of damp brush here to smooth it out. And you notice that I'm kind of starting from the edge of the canvas and going this way because if I was to start in the middle, I would get a square edge. So, does that make sense? I don't want, I'm not seeing this very good. Okay, I have to tilt it so I can see. I'm seeing on the camera that it's kind of super streaky here. Trying to get it out. And I'm going to grab some of that yellow. Go this way with it. Here we go. Just back and forth. There we go. Okay, very good. Happy with that. Let's use some of this color down here. I'm going to use it in my grass. Yeah, I don't want this big brush for this. It's too big. Too big. A smaller brush here. All right, so let's add some of these other colors that we've got going on up here down into our grass. And really, there's not a whole lot of color down here. It's mostly our kind of neutral tones. So I'm gonna add a little bit of brown, and I'm gonna add a little bit of that golden yellow, Indian yellow. We'll use a little bit of it kind of right above where those colors are. And ooh, that's dark. Let's get a little bit more of the, always adding that base yellow. That's what's going to keep everything kind of in the right tone. There we go. Tapping. Keeping these horizontal lines happening. Nice. I'm kind of finding those areas that we've already kind of put some color in there and just darkening it up just a little bit with this. And really what we're painting here, I think, is cow patties here. This is pretty much poop that we're painting. Little poop mounds. It's really pretty much what's happening, but we can call it grass, but pretty sure it's little poops. That occurred to me earlier when I was painting it, sorry. Just being real, just being real. You may not, TMI, is that, didn't want to know that?
I'm okay.
You're okay?
Yeah, I'm all right. Yeah.
You were okay not knowing that?
Yeah, my life wouldn't have been any different not knowing that.
That's okay. You're welcome. Alright, so putting some of this pinkish tone in here.
So, Little Poops could be Liam's rapping name. just thinking.
You just came up with that.
Yeah.
I thought we decided he was a bouncy boy.
Oh yeah. Well,
With
that's his gamer tag.
Ah, so this is his rapping.
Yeah. Well, it could be a rapper.
Is going to be what?
Little Poops.
Little Poops. Check.
At least for now.
Okay.
You might get bigger and want to change it.
Probably will. I would probably lay bets on that. Good odds. Okay. So these are, you look at the reference photo, these are almost the same darkness as up in here. So if we're not matching that darkness intensity, we need to go darker. So that's what I'm looking at here. I'm like, I don't think I went dark enough here. So I'm just going to kind of pick just a few little strategic spots. Doesn't have to be everywhere. And I'm going to tap, I'm setting my brush down and just going to flicking it up to create sort of this grassy tone. And if you've got a fan brush, you can maybe get a better, might get a better look with the fan brush. Who knows? I'm finding this is not quite. Now I'm going back over the edge of the bottom edge of these with the yellow. It's going to tone down that section. Give it a little shadow. I don't know. But it'll give it another color to work off of. A little bit lighter version of what we just done. And this may be a little bit too purpley, but we can always tone it down later. We do. Okay. Get a little bit of burnt umber with the burnt orange here. And some of my yellow. Over those areas with that. So kind of tone down that purple a little bit. that's lovely. Alrighty. I won't. All right. Uh-oh. Yeah, we're a little closer to the bathroom in the new studio, so we're hearing bathroom noises here. Sorry. This sink and
Nobody could hear it.
nobody could hear it.
Until
Okay.
you
Good.
told everybody.
Well, you can't hear that. You can. I can hear that. I'm sure you can hear that.
I heard a little bit in that last one.
Yeah. We're a lot closer to it on this side. I didn't think about that when we moved the studio. They were sharing the wall with the plumbing over here. Oh well. I'm getting yellow I got a little bit of the yellow oxide, and I'm getting my glazing liquid, and I'm gonna glaze, and hopefully this is dry. I'm gonna glaze over the bottom, just the very bottom of this, just make it a little bit more golden. Deepen the tone just along that bottom edge. There we go. See how that did? And that kind of toned down that purple too. Okay, so let's add our smoky clouds. I'm going to grab some Zinc White and a little bit of my Bismuth Yellow. Zinc White is transparent. If you don't have it, just use regular white. So it's a little bit lighter. I'm gonna get a fresh brush because this brush is too wet and it's got too much paint in it. Okay, so a little bit of Zinc White, glazing liquid. The Zinc White's already transparent, so the glazing liquid's just gonna make it even more transparent. And a little bit of that yellow to tint it. All right, I'm going to wipe that off. And I'm going to come along that line there. And I'm going to go right up over the top. All the way from there. And I'm going to pull it down as well. If you're not seeing it, you can go a little bit thicker with your yellow. So, there we go. You can go all the way to the top if you want to. You can see where we've done it here and we haven't done it over here. We're just fuzzing out cashmere. Cashmere's got something to say. Cashmere, what are you doing? She want to get up on your lap? She trying to talk you into it? Father, let me up on your lap.
She wants to turn in the chair.
She wants her turn in the chair. It's about time. Okay, so see, we're just gonna slowly softening that, and you may not need to do a lot of this. It's just some places, like in here, I'm going a little thicker with the paint. And I'm going to go down into here too and do it down in here. Right along that horizon line area. Really just kind of scrubbing this in. All we need to do.
Okay, somebody's asked to use Zinc White because it's more transparent than Titanium White.
Yeah, but I'm finding I really don't need it, honestly. This is so light, and I started with this color down in here that I'm finding that I'm just grabbing this color and adding it the light yellow that we had going on here. So if I need a little bit more transparency or a little bit more white, I can grab that Zinc White, maybe just right down here along the bottom. Yeah, it just makes it a little bit easier to blend in, especially for fog and things like that. It's already transparent, so it just makes it a little bit easier to blend it in and disappear it into your other colors. Okay. I'm just lightly, very lightly going over right up to the top there, softening it all the way across. And I want to make sure that it's really transparent up there at the top. So yeah. Okay, there we go. So now we've got our misty thing. We've got our misty down here. I'm going to add a little bit mist down in here. Just kind of tone down all this. Go. Let's add our horse. I may have to, and if you need to, you can go in and add more of your white at this point, and I may just go ahead and do that. Grab some of that Zinc White and tap it in there, wipe my brush off, and then just kind of tap around the outside edges. Brighten up that little spot right there. Cashmere in your face, isn't she? She's just getting all into everybody's business over here. Just rubbing on the back of Mark's camera. Side cam.
Yes, side cam is shaky because she's rubbing on it.
Rude. Okay, so I'm happy with that. I'm just kind of letting this dry a little bit before I can add the horsey on there, because I gotta let it dry before I use my transfer paper. But I think I'm gonna use red. This one comes in different colors. It's got yellow, red, blue, gray, and white. Gray is kind of more black. And I think I'm gonna use the red color. It'll be close to my horse. I don't think I won't be able to see the yellow enough to use it. The blue's not the right tone, and the black's just too dark. So red's probably our best bet.
Well, then just freehand in a tank.
Oh no. Almost dry here. No questions while we're waiting? No?
Somebody said that this looks like the morning scene from Pride and Prejudice.
It does. What? It's just like Darcy down here. That scene, okay, pet peeve. I see quotes all the time quoting Pride and Prejudice from the movie. And it's a movie quote. It's not in the book. It drives me crazy. It's like pet peeve.
Get it right, people, would you please?
If you're going to quote
exactly
Pride and Prejudice, well, don't say it's from the book if it's not. It's from the movie.
Jeez.
It's a great quote. It's the "You've bewitched me, heart and soul," or one of those, something like that. Not in the book.
Not even worth my time mentioning if it's not in the book.
In the book. Well, no, because I see stuff like on shirts and stuff. It says Pride, or says like, it says Jane Austen. Like, so it's like her quote. And I'm like, no, she never said that. Not in her book.
You don't know that she never said it.
That's true. She might have said it.
Exactly.
She might have. You never know. All right, I didn't show you how to draw this horse. I'll show you here in a minute. I'm going to trace it out right now, though. I should have been doing that instead of talking about Pride and Prejudice.
So somebody wants to know, would you use the same technique if you were mixing yellow and purple fog? Would you use the same technique and mix if you wanted a yellow and purple fog?
Yeah, if you were wanting the mixture of yellow and purple for fog, or if you wanted to go purple, yellow into purple. I'm not exactly sure what they're asking there. Ooh, that's very bright.
Hopefully that question came from a book.
Huh?
Said hopefully that question came from a book first.
Whatever.
Because that's how I live my life.
Mark is not a book fan, so he likes to tease me about books. What? It's important. If you're going to quote somebody, quote them right. That's all I'm saying. You didn't know you started something. All right, so there you go. That was, you can see where that red kind of from the transfer paper sort of got on our horsey here. And if we weren't using that Sorel in years past, when I would use graphite paper, which I probably would have used for this, I might have used white for such a light thing. But if I had to use black, then, and I got those marks on there, then pretty much the only way to get them off is bleach wipes. So they will come off with bleach wipes. You can also try a eraser. So if you're using old-fashioned graphite paper that does not have the water-soluble properties that this one does, that's what you'll need to use. It's like those Clorox bleach wipes, or one of those types of brands. Doesn't have to be Clorox, just bleach wipes. Something in them takes that graphite right off. It works for pencil marks too on canvas. So if you drew with pencil and you wanted to kind of get your pencil marks off without having to use eraser, you can use bleach wipes. I'm gonna scrape a clean spot here. I'm gonna work on that. There we go. And I'm switching to a smaller round, just whatever small detail brush that you can easily fit into your area. You want to use the biggest brush that you can to start with, and then you can switch to smaller sizes for your tighter details. So I'm mixing pretty much half and half purple and burnt orange. I really like this combination. It's a beautiful color. And then I'm going to add white. And I'm going to add a little bit of this bismuth yellow too. Light bismuth yellow. Okay. So I want a color that is just about like right in here and just slightly lighter than our brightest color up here. So we'll see. I almost sprayed my canvas. That would have been bad. All right, you want to have a little bit of fluidity. When you're using a round brush, you can add a little bit more water. It'll make your paint come off your brush a little bit easier. So that's probably pretty close. Might go a little bit more yellowish, a little bit lighter. Yeah, that's probably closer. Kind of a mauve color almost. So when I transferred on my horse, I went just on the inside of my lines so that now I can go right on top of the line and it'll be just right. If I transfer my line on right on my line, and then I paint on my line. I'm always going to go a little bit bigger than my paint is going to have to cover over the top, so it's going to widen that line just slightly. And so if we go just on the inside of it when we transfer it, then we'll be just about perfect when we go to paint it. It'll widen the line just a little bit to cover it up, and it'll be right about where we want it to be. I did not show how to draw this yet. I need to do that before I go. In case you want to draw it yourself, if you want the traceable for this that I used, I will have that available on Patreon. It's $1. They're $1 for all of my traceables. That's unlimited, so you can $1 for as many as you want to download. I think there's 300, so and it's just $1 a month, kind of a $1 a month club. And if you can cancel it, yeah, for now. It'll go up at the end of this year to $2. But for right now, it's just $1. Well, it's really, the whole reason we're going up a little bit is just because they take out so many fees that we're really only getting about half of that, just because they charge, so much for credit card charges. So it's just, anyhow, that's a whole nother story. I don't know why you got me squirreled on that whole thing. What I was saying was that it's $1. So if you want, you can cancel anytime you want to. You don't have to keep it for forever and ever. There's no penalties. You get to keep the traceable even after you cancel. It's yours to use. Just don't share it on social media. It's all the only rule we have, really. Don't sell it. Don't sell, basic stuff. I'm finding that I think this is a little bit more purple than I want, so I'm going a little bit more of the burnt orange here. I'm going to add that to it.
And there are other levels too on Patreon.
Oh yeah, there's other levels. We're going to be painting a really cool orchid on rocks with some water droplets. Beautiful. So if you go to my channel homepage, you can click on my name or my photograph. It'll take you to my homepage on YouTube. And then click on the community tab, and you can see the upcoming videos. So it's in there. You can see the picture of the orchid on the rocks that we're going to be painting. It's also on Instagram. So if you're on Instagram, Thankful Art on Instagram. If you go to my website, thankfulart.com, you can find it there. There's all kinds of places to see it. But and you can also sign up for our newsletter on my website. And we send it out once a week. And it shows you what we've got going on and tells you about giveaways and we do all kinds of weird stuff in there. Book recommendations. We do a little community section where we share something that somebody sent us, like a painting or some email, some particularly cool thing. But yeah, anyhow. But the newsletter is probably one of the best ways to keep up with what we're doing. And that's free, completely free. So the bonus video that we do once a month, the orchid, is $5 a month. It's the $5 Patreon level. So at patreon.com/AngelaFineArt. And I'm adding a little bit of this lighter color on here. Toning it down just a little bit. It's kind of, and what we can do is we are going to fog up our horsey too, so it doesn't, if it's too dark, we can always tone it down. I'm almost to the point where I have to switch to my smaller brush here. Once it gets kind of too tight to easily get down in our little areas, then we need to switch to our smaller brush. But yeah. And then for the $10 level, you get all of that. So the $5 level gets the traceable and the bonus videos, which there are several of them now that you have access to, as well as just the one new one that we do every month. And they're usually longer, more in-depth videos, usually 4 to 5 hours at least, and really advanced. The orchid, I don't think the orchid's going to be, it's not going to be as difficult as some of our other bonus videos have been, I don't think. So it'll be a little bit easier. It'll be a good blending lesson because there's a lot of blending with the rocks. So, but they also get high definition reference photos of the finished painting, so you can use it to guide you in your painting, and also the reference photo that I'm using, and then the traceable. And then the $10 group gets their own Facebook group, and they get to choose the bonus video. So they get to do a poll every month to choose the bonus video. They also get their own weekly live stream. So that we work on a project all month long in there. And it's usually it's also usually a pretty advanced project, and it takes all month long to finish. So we're going to be working on a desert thunderstorm this month. So I'm looking forward to that. We've got one more week of our Patreon, or our Princeton brush videos. That's what we did all last month, actually the last 2 months in there. We've been working on new brush videos, learning how to use different brushes for Princeton, using Princeton brushes. And I was supposed to switch to my smaller brush and never did. Just was talking all the way through that. I just got a little bit over there. I'm using a wet brush here, just wiping that off while it's still wet. Okay, I'm gonna switch to the smaller brush. So yeah, I don't know. That was a long explanation. But filling in the horsey here. And you may find that it's easier to turn it as you do this. You know, you may find that there's easier to see where your brush is going. So if you are at a place where you need to kind of be able to see where your brush is landing, like back in here, you're probably going to want to turn your canvas just a little bit, make it a little bit easier to see that. Just going to kind of set my brush down and drag it out here to get that kind of fuzzy ends on my horse tail.
Okay, somebody would like to know, is the $10 level appropriate for beginners?
Yeah, you can, if you're in there, the projects may not be, but you can still chat along, watch, and then whatever you're working on, you get, and it doesn't have to be my tutorials. You get critiques and suggestions if you ask for them. So, and that's only in that group. I don't do that in my other groups. I don't. I just don't have time. So that group gets critiques, and the only other group that you can post stuff that's not from my tutorials is Angeluni. I have a group with Cinnamon Cooney that I share called Angeluni. You can post whatever you're working on in there as long as you're not a professional. And because we're cracking down on that. Okay, so I'm using this color. I added some glazing liquid so it's a little bit thinned out, and I'm going to go right up underneath my horse here and just shadow under the feet. My Thankful Art group is just for my tutorials, just to share what you've painted from my tutorials. So if you've been trying to post something in there and you haven't gotten it in there, that's why. If it's not from my tutorials, but you can post you can definitely go over to Angelini and post it in there. That's why we have two groups, one for my stuff and one for whatevs, all the other stuffs, exactly. Good way of putting it, all the other stuffs. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and use this color in other places, so it's not like only place that we have it. I'm just gonna kind of add it around, add some shadows, add some of this pink color, and if I need to, I can kind of tap it in. Go ahead and set my brush painting down so you can see what I'm doing.
So if people want to get on your newsletter, some of them think they've signed up but they haven't received anything.
Oh, really?
Go to your Thankful Art page.
Go to the spam folder. Make sure that it's not being filtered out, because that could happen.
I don't know why anybody would think that you're spam. You don't look. You're much better than spam. I mean, spam is good, but
Spam, 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 and spam?
spam is spam.
Spam and spam? Sorry. I had to do that. When do you get the chance for that? What was I saying?
Spam folder.
Oh, spam folder. Well, yeah, newsletter. Yeah, go to my website and just sign up there. If you used to get my newsletter and you have unsubscribed, you need to email me directly, because I have to send you a special link so that you can resubscribe, because otherwise it doesn't matter how many times you try to do. If you've ever unsubscribed from my newsletter ever, it won't let me add you back, and it won't let you add you back unless you do like a special disclaimer email that I have to send you. So,
Or you just change your name.
Use a different email. Use a different email address.
Yeah.
So if you've got more than one, just use a different one from the last one you did, if you can remember which one it was. So those are the only reasons that I've found, because the one person I did have somebody that was trying. They tried several times and they couldn't get through, and that was the reason. They had unsubscribed at some point, and they wouldn't let him resubscribe for some reason. So it's just I think it's just a way that MailChimp protects you from, spammers, from people taking advantage of you and resending you stuff that you don't want. If you've said you've unsubscribed, it won't let you add me back.
Go back here.
You're right. Which is, good.
That's good, yeah, for sure.
So it definitely is. All right, so now I'm going back in. So I added that pink around. Oh, I love this. It's so pretty. So cute, our little horsey. Just adding some of this yellow back in spots. And I see there is kind of a darker shadow here. So I'm going to go ahead and grab some burnt umber with my Quinacridone and purple. Get that glazing liquid. Burnt umber is just going to tone it down a little bit. And I see from right here out. And I'm I'm going to do it kind of zigzaggy so that it's, catching the grass and different cashmere. There we go. You can see it's just very subtle, just a little bit of a shadow. Here's our sun. It's going to be kind of almost in a straight line. If you're kind of curious about the shadow type thing, one of the better videos that I've done that talked about that was the autumn trees. It had the tree on the hill, and it had all these trees in different spots, and they all had different shadows depending on where the sun was in the sky. So it was kind of a good shadow video if you're interested in that. Okay, there we go. Pretty good. Oh, we went longer than I thought we would. I thought this would be a short one. Took our time.
Still fog over 'em?
Yeah, I'm going to. One last fog. I just needed to let him dry really good because I didn't want to mess with him while he was still wet. So, all right, getting a little bit of glazing liquid, getting my yellow. And here we go. Fogging. And I'm doing little circles. So I'm getting that swirly mist feeling. Sweating around him. Around his feet.
Now he looks really magical walking on the clouds like that.
I know. It'd be cool. All right, we're done. I'm going to
That's
sign it.
it?
Yeah. We're done. Not bad.
Not too shabby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fun one. So I think next week we've got a leaf on water, which I'm hoping, fingers crossed, it's not going to take forever.
And it's an early show.
Oh, no, I'm talking about next Tuesday, but yes,
Oh, sorry.
Saturday is an early show. Saturday is. Okay, I'm going to sign it. I'm using this purple color. Trying to find a color that's sort of contrasting enough that you can see it, but still sort of blends in. It's not like in your face. Yeah, the bonus or the video, Saturday's video, we're doing a rustic boat. And we're going to do it at 10 a.m. So if you're one of our live stream regulars, you're going to want to come a little bit early if you can. It'll still be recorded, so if you miss it, you can watch it later, whenever is convenient for you. But the live stream will be a little bit early.
So a rustic boat.
Rustic boat, and then next week we're going to do a leaf on a water for our Tuesday night, and hope that we get it done in an hour and a half.
So is rustic another term for old? Because you got a rustic husband, if that's the case.
I'm a little bit rustic myself, so
Okay.
we're rustic together. Alrighty, that's it. Thanks for watching, guys, and we will see you early on Saturday, hopefully. What? All right, thanks. Bye.